Okay, I'm making a video this time and an audio recording to describe two things, both my recent experience with ayahuasca as well as I want to talk a little bit about using ayahuasca with meditation, with a more traditional approach. Well, at least for most people, I think meditation is more of a traditional approach, and using those in combination to go deeper, to have a fuller spiritual experience. There's much I've learned. There's much I've learned from meditation. I have a daily practice. I meditate every day, at least once, sometimes twice. I have a half-hour practice that I learned from a spiritual teacher named Sadhguru that I do every day, as well as I do a yoga every day, 45 minutes to an hour of yoga every day. So I have this ongoing daily practice, and I use all the tools that are available to expand my awareness, to create a more complete and consistent awareness, both of this form, both of what's happening in this form and what's happening in the mind of this human body, and to go deeper, to see more, to understand. And that has been, for a number of years now, my pursuit, my goal, this is my choice, this is what I'm doing in my life. And I've known about ayahuasca for some time, but I have not, until very recently, experimented with it at all. And what I've found is that a lot of people have amazing experiences, and a lot of people just have, they have an experience, but it's like it's not necessarily deep, it's not necessarily moving into the deeper aspects of their being. They're not necessarily having a spiritual awakening as a result. Hi, Sam. That is Sam. If Sam chooses to speak about her experience on this video and audio file, she may. So anyway, where I was going was that I found that the combination of meditation techniques over a period of time and becoming more aware of the self, more aware of the mind, obtaining a stiller mind, and then that in conjunction with the ayahuasca created a platform for just exponential growth, for just experiences that truly are beyond words. However, I will do my best to describe them. So I'm going to get into the experience now, and that was, it started, let's see, measured out and took the ayahuasca. It was just me and Sam, who just came in. We were the only ones that did this. There was no shaman other than our whatever guides that we have and whatever beings that are here to help us, as well as the ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is a being. Ayahuasca has its own consciousness, and that was very clear from the first time that I began brewing it. It has Yeah, it has a consciousness. It is a being in some sense. It's not physical. It's not a physical being apart from the actual plant, but it does have a being. So these were my guides. Those represented the shaman for this experience, and the experience began about 40 minutes after I drank the brew, which was 50 milligrams of cielo vine, bee caapi, that is, and a very small amount of mimosa hostilis. I would say not more than an ounce of liquid, which would have been about a gram, not more than a gram probably, and that was enough. That was enough for me. I think more would have resulted in the DMT overtaking the experience, rather than having this ayahuasca lead the experience. And the ayahuasca is wiser. It's a better teacher than the DMT. But they work together. They have things to offer. So I started feeling it and feeling the energy build in my body, which is just like the last time that I did it, which was the first time. And this energy grew and sort of filled my body. There's a sense of coldness in terms of physical sensations, and as well as a lot of salivating, for me anyway, and then the experience became not of the body. The experience became out of the body, where I knew kind of what I was working with, so I directed the experience as I saw fit, which was, step one was, okay, any healing that needs to happen in this body, that's what will happen first, and it did. And there was this feeling of being like, I laid down for this. There was this feeling of being almost operated on, or having this energy just kind of like move through and massage my body and moving things around. And this was a combination of pleasant and a little terrifying. Like, I felt a little out of control in the beginning, and but it was helpful. It was good. And from there I kind of started moving back towards where I had left off in my last experience, which was, at the end of that experience, I had just come into this understanding of oneness, this understanding that I am not separate from anything else, that everything is connected, all is one being, all is from the same source. This was the understanding, this was the feeling, and this understanding arose because I needed it to be safe. Prior to that experience, I was in duality, and I was experiencing attack, like a psychic attack, which is something that I had no experience with until taking ayahuasca. But with the understanding of oneness, there came this sense of I am both this thing being attacked and this other thing that is doing the attacking. And then with this, it was like the logic of oneness was such that I could not be attacked any longer. It was impossible, because I was both, and nothing would consciously, knowingly attack itself. And so then there was this safety of oneness that was created from this experience. And so I went back into that. Shortly after the healing, I went back into this experience of like feeling like something was kind of like sucking on my energy or like draining me somehow. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, right, oneness. I am this thing is me. I'm everything. We are everything. And then that faded away. And I also realized that's why that happened. That's the reason that situation came about. The reason I was attacked was because it was to learn a lesson. It was to teach me oneness. It was to teach this being oneness. And so from there, I was wondering, I was just like, okay, what else? What else is there? What else do I need to learn? What does this being need to learn to further the existence of human beings, for evolution, for consciousness to move in the direction that human beings are headed? What is needed? So then what came next was love, and universal love specifically, and that is love for all that is, a love that is within everything and that moves through everything, and that is not exclusive, and it doesn't matter who or what the focus is directed at. There is love. So I began to embody this love. An opening. It felt like an opening in the back of my heart. That was the sensation. Like kind of behind my heart, there was like a little door that opened. And that door was awareness. That door was the sort of witnessing presence that was watching everything that was happening, that was watching this experience, that was watching this mind, that was watching the body and everything that's going on. And it was just there. It was waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be realized. And then as I was moving towards love, it occurred to me, like, these things are synonymous. This universal love and this awareness the awareness has to be there for the universal love to come through. The awareness is the opening of the door, and then what came through was universal love. And that filled my being, that filled this body, all the way down to the cells of my body and the DNA, and that this was my experience. And from there, after I was laying down for this, and I just kind of laid there for a while and took this in and was just being in this state of universal love and sort of just putting it out, like, I love this body, I love this person next to me, I love this house, I love these things, I love this planet, and all the human beings on it, and likewise all the beings and things within existence itself, and the space in which it exists. So that happened, and then after that I was like, okay, like, what else needs to be learned? And this universal love, it was almost as though I was receiving a teaching, because it was not just, it was a feeling, yes, it was an energy, yes, but also there was knowledge to it. There was a deep knowledge, and that knowledge was sort of like fed into this being, and this being learned it, like it learned the knowledge of universal love. And it was almost like that knowledge almost bypassed the mind. Like, it's within the mind, and the mind can access it should it need it, but it's like the knowledge is within this being. It's within this heart. It's within the DNA of this being. And after that, I was like, okay, is there more? What do I need to learn anything else? Is there more that should be learned? And then with that question came another question, which was, where does this being come from? Where do I come from? And not the ego, but where does this being come from? And then I began moving. It felt like I moved backwards, like I went into myself through the heart, through that door of awareness, and sort of like a reversal, like just being like pulled backwards, and then there was this. Visually there was a mix of colors and a lot of greens and a lot of some like blacks and some purples, and just like mixed in together. And what I understood was that this was a visual representation for source, for my immediate source. And there are more sources, but I'll get into that in a second. So this source is me. It's this being, and it's many other beings. It has many parts, many pieces, and those sort of branch out. Those go to many different places, and they're all living. They're all experiencing. They're all growing. They're all changing. They're all part of consciousness. They're all part of this vast infinity that is existence. And existence is infinite, which is another realization that was reached at another time. But with this, it was like, okay, like I'm connected to all of these things. All of these beings are me, which makes sense because of oneness. Because oneness, all is one, we're all the same, everything is connected, which was a realization I had already had previously. So then I was like, okay, so that's a lot of beings, and that's a lot of things going on, but then what is there anything primary to that, was my next question. And then the answer came in a sound, actually. There was a visual representation of this sort of, it was like a white sphere or a white light, like a full spectrum, like containing all the colors, but represented as white. And there was a sound, and the sound that I heard was like I will try to recreate it, but the sound was like, and this was what I heard, and so I did this out loud while I was in the ayahuasca experience, and I felt this being beginning to resonate with that sound. And as I did it a few times, and as it began to resonate with the sound, it was like this source, which was, there's my immediate source, and then there was this source, which was, I'll just call it the parent source, okay? And I began to resonate with this parent source. And this source it wasn't not an infinite, but like very, very many branches of like other parent sources, like the one that I came from. And this was my understanding through this experience. And all of these other sources came back into this one parent source. And this parent source, there was like a collection of them. And what was it? It was, the number I got was 288. 288 parent sources within existence, and that could change, and probably will, because existence is infinite and ever expanding. So probably that will change. But my understanding was at that moment there were 288. And so then from there I was like, okay, all of these sources, these multiple sources are in existence. And I asked for these sources to be unified within this being. I asked them to create just sort of a unifying light or a unifying beam in which or that which could come through this being, that which could exist in this being. So all of these came together and created this for me upon request, and then this light and this wisdom, I felt it pouring through the door of awareness, this awareness that's sort of within the heart or behind the heart, and this filled this body. This awareness filled this body, and that created just an amazing sensation, just absolutely indescribable, truly. But this feeling of being complete, this feeling of being home within this body, home within this being. And during this process, the mind, or not the mind, but the ego, my ego was truly struggling, was really having a hard time, because this awareness is more real. It's true. It's more true than the human ego that I've known myself to be in the past. And in that truth, in that light of truth, this ego could no longer stay. And it fought for a little bit, and then it kind of just sort of drifted away. It left. And when it left, there was just like, it's like such a sense of peace came when that happened. And that's not to say that the mind is still functional. The mind is still there. It has to be there in order for this being to function in a physical body. There has to be a mind. But the ego, the story of this person, of like, I'm Carey Tucker, I'm 27 years old, I live and work at Menlo Mountain Retreat Center, I do these things, this is my practice, these are my interests, etc. All of that it just kind of became meaningless, or the story of it became meaningless. It's like the facts of the reality are still true, but the identity is no longer there. It's like I, as this being who is source, who is everything, who is universal love, is not that story. And I'm not that story. And so the story had to go, and it left. There was no, I don't know, there was no forcing it away, like it wasn't necessary. It was just the realization removed it, or made it remove itself. So then I'm in source, and I'm just within this intense awareness, this intense source, this intense love and oneness. And I ask myself, okay, what is there, like, what's primary to this? Is there anything primary to this? And then what I went through, it was almost like a darkening tunnel, like where all light faded, and I was kind of like spinning through this space, this like dark, empty space. And then within this dark, empty space, there was the noise, the Om noise, and it was just constant and reverberating, all three parts of the sound at the same time were reverberating, and this sound, this this Om is the vibration upon which our physical reality exists. This vibration is how all that is manifest, how all that is within existence is here. And as long as it vibrates, as long as that sound is there, existence will remain, existence will continue. It will continue to grow, continue to expand infinitely, and in constantly creating new directions, new ways of experiencing itself, new ways to live, maybe even denser forms than the human form, which is a pretty dense form, especially considering that all is vibration, all is sound at the core, but even that, there's, we feel solid as bodies. We have this, it's a very, very realistic projection, a very realistic hologram that we live in, and that is to expand the wealth of experience that is consciousness, and consciousness is the creator of the sound. And apart from that consciousness, that sound, that all of this reality is projected into, there is only space. Space is the only, that's all that's there, apart from this. So that was the next realization that came, and that too began to flow through me, this sound, this sound, and this spaciousness, this vast infinite spaciousness, and the sound reverberating in it. And it was I could see creation in the sound, the sound just blasts out, and then from that, gross objects start to form within the sound waves, and then more subtle and more finely tuned objects come, and form continues to expand in complexity, and things get more and more complex, and it looked very much like, I can't actually remember it right now, but there is a mathematically based pattern where forms are created and they're infinite, and you can keep going into, there are videos of these, and you can go into the patterns of the form, and the more you go into them, the more they expand, and they're infinitely complex, and however small you go and however far out you go, if you zoom in or zoom out, it doesn't matter. It's an infinite pattern that's always moving and always changing. So there was this visual representation for my understanding of existence, for my understanding of creation. And then I had that experience happened, and I said, okay, I'm, so what, is there more than this? Or is this everything? Is this all that there is? Is this all of it? And that is all of it. That is everything. But within that